On my 33rd birthday, my family called me out in front of everyone. Still no real achievements, huh? I swallowed hard. Later, when the acquisition was finalized, he read my name as his new boss and dropped his glass. I wasn't supposed to amount to much, at least not according to my family. My parents, Harold and Doreen, valued measurable success. Degrees, job titles, expensive houses, those were the currencies of respect in our household. My brother, Royce, was the golden child. He became a surgeon like our dad, married a pharmaceutical executive, and bought a vacation home before he turned 35. My sister Celine married rich and volunteered at art museums so she could talk about it over brunch. I was the creative one. The kid who liked computers, stayed in his room too much, and never seemed to live up to what they thought was possible. Truthfully, I was building something all along. I just never made a show of it. After college, I worked quiet, back-end jobs in tech startups. While my siblings paraded their lives on social media, I spent nights debugging code, building tools with a couple of like-minded friends, and making connections at tech meetups across North Carolina. We eventually started Durland Systems, just the three of us, out of a converted storage unit in Charlotte. For 3 years, we lived on microwave noodles and drank bottom-shelf coffee. But we made something good. Something real. A cybersecurity platform that scaled better than we expected. We didn't brag. We iterated. Slowly, our client list grew. By the time a Fortune 100 company reached out about an acquisition, we were already turning down VC offers. Still, I said nothing to my family. Maybe a part of me was waiting. When my 33rd birthday rolled around, I almost skipped the family dinner. I wasn't feeling sentimental. I felt tired, worn down by the years of being ignored, belittled, passed over in favor of my more successful siblings. But my mom called me 3 times to make sure I came. "We're having that cherry pie you used to love. Don't you dare flake, Milan." So I went. Same country club. Same room filled with polished smiles and too much perfume. Same routine. Celine updated everyone on her ski trip to the Alps. Royce talked about a new robotic surgery technique he was trying. Dad shared a story about his golf tournament with some hospital trustees. When it came time for the toast, Royce raised his glass and smirked. "To Milan." "Still no real achievements, huh?" People chuckled. Celine added, "Maybe next year will be your year." I smiled, but it took everything I had not to say something sharp. I left early. As I walked to my car, I promised myself something: no more silence. The acquisition closed quietly. We signed NDAs, sat through long legal reviews, and transferred every piece of IP. When the final wire hit my account, I stared at the number on the screen for a long time. 8 figures. My life had changed overnight. My 2 co-founders took their shares and left to start new ventures. I stayed on. The parent company offered me an executive role overseeing the new cybersecurity division from their headquarters in Atlanta. I took the job but kept my name out of the press release. A few months later, Royce's hospital group began exploring a merger with a health tech company we'd just acquired. A joint meeting was set up at our Midtown tower. I walked into the boardroom early and took my seat at the head of the table. When Royce walked in, he was mid-conversation with someone, clearly not paying attention. Then he looked up. The moment his eyes met mine, something changed in his face, his brow furrowed, his lips parted slightly. He looked down at the printed agenda. Then at the placard on the table. Then back at me. "Milan?" he asked. I didn't say anything at first. I just gave him a polite nod. He looked like he was trying to do math in his head. Trying to understand how the brother he joked about just months ago was now sitting in front of him, holding authority over a decision that could affect his hospital's future. That's when his hand jerked slightly, and the glass he was holding slipped. It shattered on the floor. That night, I got a text from Celine. "Roy said you were leading the merger meeting? Why didn't you tell us?" A day later, my mom called. Why didn't you share this with the family? She asked. We could have celebrated with you. I told her the truth. You never asked. And when you did talk about me, it was just to make jokes. She was quiet for a few seconds. Then she said, well, we just didn't know. Exactly. After that, the tone shifted. My family started reaching out more. Celine invited me to brunch. My dad forwarded me an article about cybersecurity, asking if it was related to my work. My mom started ending calls with, we're proud of you, honey. But something in me wouldn't let go. It wasn't just about the birthday. It was about the years before that. Every holiday dinner where I was asked to keep it down when talking about something I was passionate about. Every eye roll when I said I didn't want to go to law school. Every well, maybe he'll figure it out eventually. Now that there was a title behind my name, and more money than all of them combined, I was suddenly worth their attention? I wasn't sure I wanted it. I didn't block their numbers. I didn't ignore them completely. I wasn't trying to be cold. I just took my time. Noor, my partner, noticed the shift in me. She was there through everything, when I stayed up all night on Zoom with my co-founders, when I poured every spare dollar into the business, when I could barely afford gas for my car. She never asked why my family didn't seem to care. She saw it. She felt it, too. They only reach out now because it's convenient, she said one night, her voice low as we sat on the porch of our new place in Decatur, sipping tea. Now that you're on paper, now you're worth it to them. I didn't respond right away. But she was right. When we first moved into the house, modest, cozy, with a little garden in the back, I felt peace for the first time in years. The city buzzed a few miles away, but here, it was just quiet. We hung paintings, planted tomatoes, filled bookshelves. My name wasn't just on a business card now. It was on the deed. On the future. My family didn't come to the housewarming, even though they were invited. Too last minute, Celine had said. Royce didn't reply at all. Mom sent a bouquet. That was it. But now? Now they call every week. Asked if I was seeing anyone seriously, if I'd thought about marriage, if I wanted to come back home for a big family dinner. And that's where the resentment really started to root itself in me. They wanted to pull me back into the fold, but they never acknowledged how long I'd been pushed out. Celine finally cornered me at a cousin's wedding we both happened to attend. She wore a cream-colored dress that probably cost more than my first car. I saw her scanning the room before she walked over, glass of wine in hand. You really just weren't going to tell us, she asked. I had to hear about it from Royce. That you're... What, a tech mogul now? I gave a half smile. Not quite. Why, she asked, her tone shifting. I mean, why keep that part of your life hidden from us? We're your family. I tilted my head. When was the last time you asked me about my work, Celine? She blinked. Well, or what I cared about. What I was building. What was I spending all my time on? She looked annoyed. Come on, Milan. It's not like that. It's exactly like that, I said, quietly. I spent a decade trying to prove to all of you that I was worth listening to. Eventually, I just stopped trying. She rolled her eyes, but I could tell I'd struck a nerve. So, what, this is your revenge arc? No, I said, shaking my head. This is me finally living without needing approval from people who never gave it in the first place. She scoffed and walked away. That conversation didn't make it back to my parents, but I could feel the ripple. My mom's next call was softer. More careful. My dad, usually stoic and formal, left me a voicemail. He said he was proud of me. That he wished he'd paid more attention. I didn't call back right away. I played the voicemail a few times, though. Royce, for his part, avoided me. I'd seen him once more at a follow-up meeting regarding the failed merger. He didn't say anything beyond what was necessary. No acknowledgement. no eye contact. That was fine with me. But a few weeks later, I got an unexpected email. From Royce. The subject line was simple: lunch? I stared at it for a long time. No text in the body. Just that one word. He wanted to talk. And suddenly I was 13 again, watching him win another academic award while our parents clapped like they were at the symphony. I was invisible. Just background noise. I didn't respond to the email right away. I let it sit there in my inbox, unread, for almost a week. Not because I was playing games or trying to be petty, but because I genuinely didn't know how I felt. What did he want to say? What could he say that would make any of it different? Nor saw the name on my laptop screen one evening while I was skimming through work emails. She didn't say anything at first, just leaned against the counter, sipping her tea. Then, quietly, "You gonna meet him?" I looked at her, unsure. "Should I?" "I don't know," she said. "Maybe not for him. But maybe for you." That stuck with me. Not for him. For me. That weekend, I replied. Tuesday. 12:30, Decatur Square. Your pick. He picked a cafe near the square. Trendy place, mostly locals. When I walked in, he was already there, looking out the window, suit jacket off but still in work mode. He hadn't changed much. Same posture, same clean-shaved face, same expensive watch. He stood when he saw me. "Milan," he said, like we were strangers meeting for the first time. I sat. We ordered. Small talk first: weather, the cafe's weird new menu, a local team's win. Then, silence. He looked at me, fiddled with his fork. "You surprised me," he finally said. I gave a dry laugh. "Yeah. I get that a lot lately." He nodded slowly. "I didn't know. I mean, I had no idea. About the company. About what you built. You never asked." He looked down. "I know." We were quiet again. The waiter refilled our water glasses and left. I didn't rush to fill the silence. I was too used to it, too comfortable in it now. "I'm not here to explain away how we treated you," Royce finally said. "Or justify it. I think I got so used to being the one people noticed that I didn't stop to see anyone else. Especially you." I looked at him, skeptical. He held up a hand. "I'm not trying to win you over. I just wanted to say it. That I get it. That we were wrong. That I was." It caught me off guard, if I'm honest. Hearing him actually admit it. Not coughing it in sarcasm or excuses. Just saying it. I didn't answer right away. I just watched him. The man who once stood at a country club table, drink in hand, mocking me in front of everyone. Now here he was, nervously stirring his coffee. "It was more than that one night," I said finally. "It was a family gathering. Every moment I tried to talk about my work, and you all tuned out. Like I didn't matter." He nodded. "Yeah. I know. And now that I've got a title and a bank balance that impresses you, now suddenly everyone remembers I exist. I can't fix that," he said. "But I can own it." He sat back, let out a long breath. "I've been thinking about Dad lately. About what he taught us. How he only ever celebrated things he understood. And I repeated that. I copied it. I ignored anything that didn't fit into that box. I didn't know what to say. I felt something in my chest loosen, but I wasn't ready to forgive. Not yet. So I said the only honest thing I could: "I don't know what to do with this yet." Royce nodded. "That's fair." The next few weeks passed quietly. Royce didn't push. Celine kept her distance, which honestly was a relief. My parents sent a card. No calls. No guilt trips. Just a card that said, "We're proud of you." Part of me wanted to throw it away. Another part tucked it into a drawer. Nor and I went up to Asheville one weekend just to get out of the city. It had been years since I'd really been back, and the leaves were turning that rich orange that always felt like home. We didn't stay with my parents. We got an Airbnb on the edge of town. Quiet. Private. We walked the old neighborhoods. I pointed out places I remembered, where I broke my arm as a kid, where Royce taught me to ride a bike before he decided I wasn't cool enough to hang out with. The past clung to everything there. Even the air felt heavier. I don't miss it, I told Nora as we stood outside the old library. I don't blame you, she said. But I think it made you sharper. She was right. That town, those years, they carved edges into me. I learned how to survive without validation. How to work when no one was clapping. How to stay quiet and pay attention. And now? Now I wasn't chasing anyone's approval anymore. But that didn't mean the wounds weren't still there. Back in Atlanta, the company was preparing to announce a new product line, and I was deep in planning mode. One night after work, I got another text from Royce. Dinner? Just us. My treat. No agenda. I stared at it. Then I closed my phone and walked into the kitchen, where Nor was making pasta. Do you think people really change? I asked. She looked up, thought for a moment. I think I'll try. And if they're trying, that's a start. I sat down at the counter and watched her stir the sauce, the smell of garlic filling the air. A few days after Royce's second invitation, I said yes. Not because I was ready to forgive him. Not because I wanted to reconnect. But because I was curious to see if the change he hinted at during our last meeting was real or just another temporary performance. We met at a quiet place in Inman Park. Not fancy. Not loud. One of those warm restaurants with dim lighting, mismatched chairs, and old jazz records playing softly. I got there first this time, chose a booth near the window, and waited. He arrived right on time, wearing a hoodie and jeans, more casual than I'd seen him in years. No handshake this time. Just a nod as he slid into the seat across from me. The server came. We ordered. Silence fell again. He finally leaned back, arms crossed. Look, I don't expect you to ever forget what it was like growing up with us. Or how we treated you. I won't try to act like I didn't contribute to it. I didn't say anything. I wanted to hear where he was going with it. But lately, he went on, I've been looking at everything I thought made me successful. The degrees, the accolades, the money. And I don't know if I even like who I've become. That was unexpected. I didn't even want to go into medicine, if I'm honest, he said, looking down at his hands. I did it because it was expected. Dad always made it clear that anything else wasn't enough. And I thought I was winning all these years. Thought I was ahead of you. He paused, then looked me in the eyes. And then I saw what you built. And it hit me that maybe I was running someone else's race all along. There was no malice in his voice. No smugness. Just regret. It landed hard. I didn't feel superior. I didn't feel vindicated. I just felt tired. Tired from carrying the weight of their dismissal all those years. Tired of pretending it didn't matter. Tired of watching my own family celebrate everyone but me, until money and power gave them a reason to reconsider. Royce sat forward, elbows on the table. I want to fix things, he said. Not just with you. With myself, too. I sipped my water. Let the silence stretch. You can't undo years with a dinner, I said. I know, he said. But I can start here. And that was the first moment since everything began that I started to believe him. The following week, I got a call from my mom. She never used to call me midweek unless something had happened. When I picked up, she sounded soft, almost hesitant. Hi, sweetheart, she said. I talked to Royce. He said you two had dinner. We did. She exhaled into the phone. I know we haven't always treated you right. And it's not lost on me that we didn't really see you until. Well, until we can't ignore you anymore. It was more honest than anything she'd said to me in years. I've been reading about your company, she continued. About cybersecurity. I didn't understand any of it. But I kept reading. I didn't know what to say. Milan, she said, voice wavering slightly. I'm sorry. For years we didn't listen. For brushing you off. For every time we made you feel small. I sat on the couch, phone pressed to my ear, heart pounding. Those words. They were something I had longed to hear for so long I'd forgotten what it would feel like to actually hear them. But hearing them didn't erase the years. It didn't fill in the silence that shaped my adulthood. It didn't change who I became as a result of being unseen. Still, it mattered. I didn't cry. I didn't say, I forgive you. I just said, thank you for saying that. I told Nora about it that night. We were sitting in bed, her legs tangled with mine under the covers. She was reading, I was scrolling mindlessly, not really taking anything in. She apologized, I said, looking over at her. Your mom? I nodded. Nora placed her book down gently and turned toward me. How do you feel? Conflicted, I admitted. Part of me wants to let it in. Part of me doesn't know how. She reached over and touched my hand. That's fair. You don't owe them healing on their timeline. That stuck with me. Because for the first time in my life, I was being offered a connection from my family without having to earn it. Without having to dress it up in a suit of achievements and polish it with accomplishments. But I didn't know if I trusted it yet. Over the next few months, the invitations continued. Royce texted more often, usually short things, like articles I might find interesting or the occasional, "You free for lunch?" My dad, who had been mostly silent through all of this, sent me a long email. The subject line was, "Catching up, finally." It was a strange shift. Like the family that had always held me at arm's length was now realizing the arm wasn't long enough anymore. And I wasn't sure what to do with that. Because success had changed their perspective, but it hadn't changed my memories. The outreach from my family continued, not daily, not smothering, but steady. Roy seemed committed to rebuilding something resembling a real relationship. Celine stayed distant, but cordial when we crossed paths. My parents softened in their tone, their words more intentional. Still, I kept my distance. I didn't rush into anything, and I certainly didn't open up the way they might have hoped. I had learned how to live without their approval. I wasn't going to trade that peace just to belong to them again. One evening, as I sat in my office after hours, I got a call from someone on our corporate strategy team. There was a new acquisition opportunity, nothing huge, but interesting. A small medical tech firm, run by a tight-knit executive board. And who was listed as their chief technology advisor? Royce. The irony didn't even sting anymore. It just made me smile. I called the meeting. We held it in our midtown office, 10th floor, not as imposing as the upper suites but still sleek and sharp. I kept the meeting internal at first, just our side. But in the second round, I requested Royce be present. As CTO, he'd need to help walk us through their back-end systems. I walked in that morning not with a suit, but with confidence. I was no longer proving anything. I was living the result. Royce arrived late. He gave me a quick glance, his face unreadable, but he greeted everyone professionally. The room was packed with analysts, product managers, and legal reps. Royce sat down across from me, and I watched him place a notepad on the table with a pen already clicking in his hand. "We appreciate the opportunity to present," he said. I nodded. "Of course. I'm especially interested in hearing from you today, Royce. Your role has evolved since the last time we worked together." His lip twitched slightly, an almost smile, almost wince. The presentation went smoothly. Royce knew his stuff. He made smart points, answered questions with clarity, and showed a deep understanding of their product's technical specs. I could almost forget the history between us, until the final slide, where he outlined the firm's reliance on outdated authentication protocols. I raised my hand. Why haven't you moved them onto something more secure? Multi-factor at the very least? He shifted slightly. It's on the roadmap. But budget constraints delayed the transition. I tilted my head. We've acquired 3 firms this year. Every one of them came in using stronger protocols. This is behind. He didn't respond right away. It's a risk, I continued, keeping my tone even. And from a cybersecurity perspective, the longer you wait, the more likely we'll have to factor that delay into our valuation. There it was. The tension. The shift. His mouth opened like he wanted to argue, but he knew the weight I carried now. I had the final say. And I wasn't being petty, I was being thorough. The meeting adjourned, and as everyone filed out, he lingered. Milan, he said, stopping me as I packed my laptop. Was that necessary? Which part? He looked at me, jaw tight. The tone. The call-out. I closed my laptop slowly. It's not personal, Royce. It's business. Just like it was personal at the dinner table, but you called it a joke. He exhaled. I deserved that. I smiled. Yeah. You did. And I walked out, leaving him in that glass room where the balance had finally shifted. The deal moved forward, but at a reduced valuation. Their board agreed to a lower number after a detailed audit from my team found even more outdated infrastructure. I never micromanaged the process, never interfered emotionally. I let the system work the way it should, and the result naturally favored us. Royce didn't lose his job, but he didn't get the promotion his board had been planning to recommend either. They restructured, moved him to an advisory role, and brought in a younger CTO with a background in modern enterprise security. He didn't email me about it. He didn't have to. A month later, my parents invited me for dinner. Just me. No obligations, no guest list, no distractions. I debated it for days. Nor finally nudged me gently one night. Go. Not for them. For you. So I did. I drove up to Asheville, pulled into the same old driveway, and walked through the same front door I'd felt invisible behind for years. They greeted me with hugs that lingered a second too long, as if trying to fill in old gaps with warmth. The house was quieter now. Smaller, somehow. We ate. We talked. Nothing heavy, nothing deep, just food, light stories, and glances filled with unspoken acknowledgments. After dessert, my father looked at me across the table. You've done well, Milan. And I don't just mean business. You've become a man we should have seen a long time ago. I met his eyes. I was always here. He nodded slowly. I know. And for once, he didn't try to follow that with advice or a veiled insult. Just silence. Respectful, overdue silence. Driving back that night, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Closure. Not forgiveness. Not full reconciliation. But a quiet, satisfying peace. They finally saw me. Not because I shouted. Not because I sought revenge. But because I built something so undeniable, so firm, that it didn't need their applause. And that, in the end, was the sweetest revenge of all.